early today because this is when I have the time. And I can get really stuck on like sticking to specific times. But one of the things as a person who enjoys planning and likes to orchestrate all the details of her life, I'm learning that what God has for us, we cannot be blocked from. And so I'm trying to just like step more into that, like into living that way more generally. So as we go over plans, just know that that is something that I'm working on personally. And it is probably going to influence some of the way that planning happens with me right now. But the biggest key piece in planning and sticking to plans really is just having the attitude of faithfulness in every moment, every day, in what you're feeling called to. And that's going to look really different for all of us. And I'm really hoping to emphasize that as we go through this. So I have my planner from last year and then the planner this year. This is actually not the exact planner that I'm going to use. She is sending me a blue one with a Monday start date, but I'm going to show you this pink one just for illustration purposes. And then this is the one that I've been using this past year. I have some tabs marked to be able to show you some ways that I've used it. So I am going to use the blank planner to show you these goal setting pages. So every planner has, let's just do like a quick flip through first. Every planner has like one of these plastic tabs that come with it. It's extremely helpful. And this is the first year that the Soul Planner hasn't changed. If you want this exact planner, comment planner. I'll send you a link, make it super easy for you to be able to find. But this is the first year she didn't really change anything from last year. So I feel like she's hit her stride. One of the most helpful things, especially early on trying to decide what I want, because this time of year, as the weather turns cold and we're all like thinking about what we should be doing, it's really easy to get distracted by other people's life goals or other people's plans. And so going through, my husband and I take a date night and we go over these guiding values for our own family every year. And it's such a beautiful time for us to connect. What we do is he marks the ones that are highly important to him and the ones that are not very important to him. And then I do the same. And then we also like do the things that are important to us as a couple. And it's been really helpful for us. So there's 2 different pages of different guiding values. And then you set as a couple what your guiding values are together. So then there are these reflection questions. You know that I'm a huge fan of the life-giving and life-taking idea. I do that not just at the beginning of the year, but I try to do it every month just because it helps me readjust where I want to move and what is bringing me joy. I also do what brought me joy and what mattered most. I do that kind of monthly now also. So then you're going to start brainstorming like, wouldn't it be cool if? So I'm going to use both for myself with some of the work that I do. And then also like I have a friend who owns her own sewing business, or if you're a homeschool mom, wouldn't it be cool if we, like, let's just use the 1,000 hours outside concept. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we spent 1,000 hours outside? And like talking about what your year would look like if that was your goal. Or wouldn't it be cool if we ate at home around the table most of the meals of our family time together? And like brainstorming what that looks like. For me this year, I think a huge chunk of mine was podcast based. Now I want to go back and look and see kind of what some of that was. But again, for all of us, that is going to look really different. So for me, it was like, wouldn't it be cool to meet new people and have conversations, and have the ability to teach and speak to people. And it's so interesting, like as we start to write that down as things to focus on, how focusing on things ends up making it clear, which gives us a direction. And then oftentimes we end up meeting those goals. So just naming what it is really, really important. So what are you excited and nervous about? Like there's just all these questions to like help work through what your goal is. So, and then you're committing to like, what do you have to do today in order to start that toward happening by the end of the year. So what I did on this page for last year, I did a little sample for you here in my planner, because again, like there's an interesting thing when you walk with your life being a little bit more public. Like there's some things that are just really private. So what I did is I did a November one, like my goal for the month of November. So like if I was picking a word for November, it would be writing. And so I'm going to walk you through my process of what this looks like. So you pick your word for the goal, word for the year. It could be unplug. It could be like meet new people or socialize, or like whatever your goal is in that wouldn't it be neat if section, to condense it down into one word. And then I write all these little branches off, and I give space. I should have put these out a little bit further to like give a little bit more space to write there. But like, what is it going to take for me to do good, deep writing? So it's going to take, I need to read deeply. I need to block time off. I need to listen to other people, because so much of what pours out is what is already inside our hearts. So a lot of these are going into like, what is going to feed inside of me so I have that ability to pour out. So starting to brainstorm, and I always use this page of the planner for my word for the year, and then like, what is it going to take for that to happen based on those. So the neat thing is the next thing you have like your different segment pieces. And so usually what I do, because this changes, I don't know what this needs to look like for 2024 until like I am sure. So I use like these little Post-it notes, and I put one in every slot, and then I just start brainstorming. Okay, what are the different family goals and relationships that I could have, and then narrow it down to one or two as the ones that I actually want. So like using the first couple of, or the last couple of months and then the month of January to like really explore different ideas within my life of like, what could it look like? And then deciding and choosing like these two things are what I actually want it to look like. So what does personal growth look like for me? So for some people it's like diet and exercise, or reading, or it could be so many different things, but choosing like what does personal growth look like for me, and really what is going to help me reach that one word, or wouldn't it be neat if? Then there can be projects. These can be projects around your house. These can be projects with your family. Like there's so many different ways depending on your life goals to make that happen for you. So for me, projects are like different writing projects or podcasting projects. For this year, I am already pretty sure it's going to be split between like the email devotion series that I'm sending out, and the other huge project is making sure that the podcast is happening every week. So those two projects. In previous years, it's looked like doing Instagram collaborations fairly frequently, or different. And so for me, work and projects are kind of connected pretty tightly together. And then family, like this section is more like family and home centric. And usually this one ends up being pretty family and home centric too. So once you've got like what those goals are going to look like for you, what your word for the year is, like the things that you need to commit to doing first off, then you start your quarterly planning. So for instance, for me, January is going to be full of recording for the podcast. So making sure that I am blocking off January for doing that is going to be really important for me. So you have those for each quarter, so you can check back in with those goals. And I love that she added that, because it used to just be this and then your monthly overview. And so breaking it down into quarterly goals, because sometimes I would get halfway through the year and I would complete the things that I had written here. And so it's like, okay, I need to make that grow into quarter 3 and 4. So like, how can I expand what I initially had done? And then the way that I've used this page then is every month I try to write one big way that what I had hoped would come true came true. And so it could be like hey, we went to a park 5 times, even though it was freezing cold, and that was my goal. We were going to be outside. Or for my friend who has a sewing business, like I got 30 orders for the month of February, or I got to go into a new shop, or like for me, in last March, we put on a conference. And so it's like we did our first annual conference and it went really well. And or the book came out in June. So that was like a big one for me. Like I've been working on this writing project for so long and it finally was out into the world in June. And so sometimes for me, it's easy to look back on my year and think, oh yeah, nothing much big happened, or it like, I don't know, I didn't really do the things that I hope to do. But if you're writing along the way, like the big exciting things that are happening, the neat thing has been to see that like each month there's been something, and you can begin to see the way that God is working in your life, because it's really easy to forget. And really, I see this at the end as kind of like my testimony page, because so many of the things aren't even things that I work to make happen, but faithfulness is that God poured out onto me. And so even using this as like a prayer request answered, or that type of thing, like as a way to trace the way that God is moving, is really helpful. So at the beginning, excuse me, the beginning of every month, you do what was your biggest win for the month, for the last month, and that can be something that you copy into this. What obstacles or distractions have kept me from doing what I need to do? So just acknowledging like life happens, and not every month is going to look like an ideal month, because we're humans and we get sick and the kids get the stomach bug and chaos happens. So just like taking some time and space to acknowledge that. And then what's an area I want to grow in this month, gives you a way to begin focusing for the next month, or for the coming month. So then in that, what you're going to do is the list of things that you want to work on from the month that you have here. You're going to copy those into each week. And I love now that they're dated, so it's easy to keep track of like, okay, so the thing that I'm going to work on is like, for me, a lot of times this ended up being like, I'm going to edit 2 podcast episodes. I'm going to write 1 article, and those, like keep those different things tracked throughout so you can continue to work toward. It also helps me realize if I'm getting too far balanced on personal or work, like, because it's really easy, because these are a lot of times more tangible tasks, to lean too heavy toward the work type of stuff and less toward like the personal goals that I have for our family. And so making sure that that's kept balanced, writing those things down is really helpful. The habit trackers I use because one of the big goals that I had this year was to start to work out more consistently. And so I kept track of that in the habit trackers. You can have a list of things you want to read, projects you want to do, people whose birthdays are coming up, depending on how your brain works. So then every week you're going to ask what brought you joy. Based on your progress, how likely am I to achieve my monthly result? And then what do I want to change for the coming week? So you've got space for your brain dump, where you can write all your to-do things. Which of those things are actually top priorities versus things that are just taking up space in your head? And then what is your one goal item? Most of the time for me, this is homeschooling my children. Like that is my big action goal item, can't not do it type of thing. Like these children must be educated. So what I like to use this for, you could use it for anything. I like to write our meal plan in there. Some weeks I'm good at it, some weeks I'm not, but I do notice the weeks that I am consistent in writing it down, it's really helpful, because then I remember to thaw the meat and all the things. Super helpful. Okay, this is another, I'm going to show you how I use this. It is not a daily spread planner, it's a weekly spread planner, which I like because there is still plenty of room for to-do items and notes, and plenty of space, like write all of the things. Like if I had a page every day, I feel like I would get overwhelmed really quickly. So I was going to show you here. This is how I used this. So writing down what was successful, writing down what I needed to do, like record 4 podcasts, write an article for Journey Women, edit episodes. Then this was when I had to pack to go to TGC. So working out was a consistent one that was in my personal stuff. Making sure I was working through a devotional at a, general rate of speed. Then homeschooling our kids is a big piece of that. So this is what weeks look like for me. I usually block off chunks of time. There's 2 different types of pens. I love using these gray ones that kind of look like pencil because it doesn't scream at you when you open the planner. Like, I just can't have it my pen's screaming at me. And so writing in gray, so that way it's, I don't know, just more soothing on my eyes, and it's what I like. So then the other thing is I have these Tombow pens, and I pick a color that kind of seems to be threaded throughout. That way I don't have to change it all the time, and it all kind of feels soothing. I don't know, it's just the way my brain works. But then I use it to block off, like, okay, the kids are gonna be at school for these hours. We've got curriculum night. We've got and instead of writing it just like when it starts, it helps me to realize how full or empty a week is, so I can know where I fit different things. A lot of times at the top, I will jot birthdays, which is why it's covered up. I want people's birthdays to be private. I will jot prayer requests to remind me to check back in with people and remind me as I'm looking at this to pray for them. It helps me to be able to have my week at a glance, so I know where those empty and full spaces are. So, let's see. So then at the end, there are some extras that she has in here. You've got your books to read. You've got your holiday gift giving. It's been so fun this year. The kids will write lists of things that they want, and it's made it so much easier to buy stuff for them now that they have opinions about what they want. So keeping track of that is really helpful. I blocked this off and ended up, because my husband tracks bills a different way, and so I ended up using this to track how well I blogged this year. Give you a hint, it wasn't particularly great, but it's okay. I had other things I was working on. And then this is savings and debt tracker. But what I've used this for is just I divided it up into quarters and use different ways, things that I want to write. So you could use it for any sort of project tracker. If you're hand making items, it can be items that you want to make. It could be books that you want to read with your kids, just a sticker, and use it however you want. And then same way with the trackers. I kind of use it that way too. So then you have a whole bunch of space for notes. So I hope that's helpful. I always want to flip through something before I purchase it, and so I'm trying to slow down a little bit more often, give you a peek. If you want to see our homeschool curriculum in the same way, I have that on YouTube. I will give this a permanent spot in the feed, and then also probably upload it to YouTube so that way you can have a flip through. If you want the link to this, just comment planner and I will send that to you also, or a link to it, so that way you can find it most easily. So anyway, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. But this has been a tool that's really blessed me and blessed our family, provided communication for my husband and I. He loves being able to flip open and kind of see what's on my plate for the week, and it just, I don't know, I feel like it helps us have good communication and keep the things we need to do well going.